The Young and the Restless spoilers. As the winds of autumn begin to sweep through Genoa City, the shifting leaves seem to mirror the shifting tides of love and loyalty that continue to define the lives of the Newman family and those who orbit around them. At the center of this change is Nick Newman, a man who has long been torn between the comfortable familiarity of his past and the tantalizing promise of a future he's only beginning to recognize. For decades, Nick's story has been defined by his connection to Sharon, the first love who shaped him as a man and who, through all the betrayals, heartbreaks, and reconciliations, still represents the memory of a bond he once swore could never be broken. Their relationship has carried the weight of countless obstacles, affairs, marriages to others, deaths and resurrections, children grown into adults, and crises that tested not only their love, but their identities as individuals. Yet, somehow, even after years of distance, their names together still carry power, still evoke nostalgia, and still whisper of the possibility that perhaps love, though weathered, can be resurrected when two souls are meant to be bound forever. And yet, despite this, Sharon now finds herself confronted with a devastating possibility that her time, her moment, her chance at one more embrace with Nick has already slipped through her fingers. She cannot forget the night in Nice when the two of them, caught in danger and fear, leaned on each other the way only two people with such a deep and complicated history can. The adrenaline of survival, the shared vulnerability of being thrust into peril, had stripped away years of silence and hesitation. For Sharon, that night was not merely about survival. It was about remembering who she was with Nick. The kiss they shared in the aftermath, fragile and hesitant but nonetheless real, rekindled something inside her that she thought had long been extinguished. To her, it was the sign she had been waiting for, the signal that the universe, after all its cruelty, was still willing to give them another chance. But to Nick, it seems, it was only a fleeting moment of comfort, a reflex born out of shared history, not a renewed passion. Since their return home, Nick has retreated back into the comfortable shell of friendship, framing Sharon as a confidant, a trusted ally, a woman who will always matter to him, but no longer in the way she dreams of. He remembers her as his first love, yes, but he has tucked that love away into the nostalgia of memory rather than the urgency of present-day desire. His words, though kind, lack the fire Sharon longs to hear. His actions, though supportive, are colored by distance. A stolen kiss here, a brush of lips there in a quiet cafe, but none of it holds the intensity that Sharon interprets as love rediscovered. For her, every small gesture is heavy with possibility, but for him, every gesture seems more like an echo of courtesy, a reflex, a shadow of what they once were. Sharon has convinced herself that destiny has circled back, that Nick will one day wake up and realize what they nearly lost. But reality is beginning to paint a crueler picture. Enter Sienna Beall, a woman whose arrival is destined to disrupt the fragile balance Sharon has clung to. Portrayed with sharp elegance and undeniable presence by Tamar Brown, Sienna is not merely a guest in Genoa City but a force of nature whose entrance signals both opportunity and upheaval. Unlike Sharon, Sienna does not carry the weight of Nick's past. She has no history of betrayal with him, no wounds inflicted and re-inflicted through years of complicated entanglement. What she brings instead is novelty, intrigue, and a spark that Nick has been unconsciously craving. While Sharon offers him familiarity and the comfort of a love that once was, Sienna offers him the unknown possibility of something untarnished, something that does not carry decades of scars. And Nick, who has long wrestled with the shadow of his father, the weight of his family name, and the constant pull between loyalty and rebellion, finds himself inexplicably drawn to Sienna's unapologetic independence. The irony is brutal. Sharon, who has held on to Nick in her heart for years, who has waited patiently through his romances with Phyllis, Chelsea, and others, is suddenly finding herself competing not with the ghosts of his past, but with the living embodiment of a future she may never be part of. Her timing could not be worse, for as autumn arrives, the writers of life in Genoa City seem to be positioning Sienna as more than just a passing distraction. Rumors swirl that Sienna will be entangled in the very heart of Newman Enterprises' ongoing struggles. giving her a seat at the table that will bring her closer not only to Nick but also to the tangled politics that define his world. Sharon, meanwhile, stands on the outside looking in, still carrying her small glimmers of hope from Nice, still convincing herself that Nick's heart cannot so easily be given away. But the truth is colder. Nick is slowly but surely turning his gaze elsewhere. To the audience, the agony is palpable. Schick has always represented a piece of stability in the chaos of Genoa City, a couple that despite everything, always seemed destined to circle back to one another. Fans have followed them from their teenage love to their tumultuous marriages, through raising children and grieving losses, through affairs, scandals, and reconciliations. They remember Nick's devotion when Sharon was at her lowest, and Sharon's loyalty even when Nick made choices that hurt her. They know the magnetic pull that has brought them together again and again, and they have dared to hope that perhaps, as they grow older, they might finally find peace in each other's arms. Yet now, with Sienna's presence looming large, those hopes appear fragile, on the brink of collapse. Sharon herself embodies this fragility. Every time she looks at Nick, she sees both the boy she loved and the man he has become, and it tears her apart to realize that she may never again hold his heart the way she once did. For her, the kiss in Nice was a promise. For him, it was simply a moment. The disparity between those meanings is devastating. It is not that Nick has stopped caring, for Sharon has not, nor will he ever, but caring and loving are not the same. His affection has calcified into friendship, while hers has remained tender, vulnerable, and full of yearning. The imbalance is unsustainable, and with Sienna's emergence, Sharon may finally be forced to confront the truth. Nick has moved on, even if she has not. And so, as the season turns, the stage is set for a new chapter in this never-ending saga. Will Sharon fade into the background, relegated to the role of trusted confidant while Nick finds passion elsewhere? Will Schick finally meet its true end, not through betrayal or scandal, but through the simple inevitability of time and change? Or will fate intervene once more, as it has so many times before, pulling Nick back toward the woman who has always carried a piece of his soul? The answers are uncertain, but one thing is clear. Sharon's heart, and perhaps her place in Nick's life, has never been more at risk. For years, viewers of The Young and the Restless have watched the delicate push and pull between Nick Newman and Sharon Newman, a couple whose shared history has spanned youthful infatuation, multiple marriages, devastating betrayals, reconciliations, and the unbreakable bond of family. They share children, they share memories, and they share a connection that no other relationship in Genoa City can ever fully replicate. Even when love fades, even when circumstances pull them apart, the roots of what they once had remain firmly in place, grounding them to each other in ways neither can fully escape. It is this enduring tie, this deep connection born out of shared parenthood and the trials of life, that ensures Nick and Sharon will never truly sever. But in recent months, fans have begun to notice a shift. The show no longer positions them as a destined romantic duo, but rather as two individuals tied together by their children and history. Not necessarily by an undying love that can be rekindled at will. And with autumn approaching, the arrival of a new character threatens to finally shatter what fragile hope remains for a romantic chic reunion. The introduction of Tamara Brown to the Y&R canvas has sparked both excitement and apprehension among longtime viewers. Known for her powerhouse portrayals across daytime television, including iconic runs as Ava Vitale and Taylor Walker on Days of Our Lives, as well as memorable stints on General Hospital, where she brought both Carly Corinthos and Dr. Kim Nero to life. Braun brings with her not only undeniable star power, but also a reputation for playing characters who are complex, layered, and often disruptive forces in their respective storylines. Now, she steps into Genoa City as Sienna Beall, a woman shrouded in mystery and sensual intrigue, whose mere presence has the potential to shake up not just business and power structures, but also the delicate threads of romance that have held certain characters together for decades. For Sharon, Sienna's arrival could not come at a more precarious time. Her longing for Nick was reignited during their harrowing ordeal in Nice. where danger had stripped away the protective barriers between them and forced them to confront their feelings in the rawest of circumstances. For Sharon, the kiss they shared in the aftermath of survival was a spark, a reminder of the love she believed had never truly died. But since returning home, Nick has been distant, treating Sharon more like a trusted ally and close friend than a woman he envisions as his future. He acknowledges their past fondly, cherishes the role she plays as the mother of his children, but he no longer speaks or acts with the urgency of a man determined to win back a lost love. To Sharon, this silence is crushing. She interprets his restraint as confusion, as hesitation, as something that can be worn down over time. But to Nick, it seems to be a quiet acceptance that their chapter as lovers has already closed. Enter Sienna Beall. At an age where she carries wisdom but still radiates charisma, she is positioned perfectly as a romantic match for Nick. She is not weighed down by his past, nor is she a reminder of failed promises or wounds that have never healed. She offers him something Sharon cannot: novelty, intrigue, and the allure of a clean slate. While Sharon has become synonymous with familiarity, with history, with comfort, Sienna represents adventure, risk, and the possibility of passion untainted by old scars. For a man like Nick, who has been defined so much by his past relationships and family obligations, the temptation to dive into something new, something undefined, is both logical and irresistible. The writers of The Young and the Restless seem to be leaning into this inevitability. While the show has always thrived on nostalgia and the recycling of iconic pairings, it also understands the necessity of evolution. Keeping Nick tethered to Sharon indefinitely risks stagnation, and in a genre where storylines must constantly evolve to keep audiences engaged. The introduction of Sienna offers a chance to redefine Nick's trajectory. A romance with Sienna could give him fresh energy, could challenge him in new ways, and could open storylines that Sharon cannot currently provide. Fans may bristle at the idea of ship finally fading into memory, but soap operas have always thrived on the bittersweet balance between honoring the past and embracing the future. That does not mean Sharon will be left adrift. On the contrary, the very idea of Sharon watching Nick fall for another woman sets the stage for her own emotional renaissance. Sharon is too vibrant, too layered, and too beloved a character to be sidelined. If Nick is pulled into Sienna's orbit, Sharon may find herself on a parallel path forced to confront her own loneliness, to question why she has held on to Nick for so long, and ultimately to open her heart to someone new. Such a shift could reinvigorate her storyline, allowing her to rediscover herself not through her history with Nick but through a love that belongs entirely to her present. What makes this development especially intriguing is the way it forces fans to grapple with their own attachments. Sharon and Nick, as Schick, have been central to the heart of Genoa City for decades. They are the couple fans root for, the couple fans believe destiny will eventually reunite, no matter how many affairs, marriages, or betrayals occur in between. Yet soap operas, by their very nature, thrive on disruption. If Sharon and Nick remain in each other's orbit but no longer as lovers, the writers are daring the audience to accept that love stories can evolve, that bonds can remain powerful without being romantic, and that sometimes the healthiest resolution is not reunion but reinvention. Nick himself is a fascinating case study in this potential shift. He has always been a man torn between loyalty and desire, between family duty and personal fulfillment. His romances have often been messy, tangled in betrayal and compromise. But Sharon was always the one constant woman he returned to, the one he defended even when he hurt her, the one he believed would always be a part of his life. That permanence has not changed. Sharon will always be in his life, bound to him by their children and their shared history. But permanence does not necessarily equal passion. For Nick, the allure of Sienna may not just be about attraction, but about finally stepping outside the shadow of his past, about defining himself by something new rather than something familiar. As Sienna Beall takes her first steps into Genoa City this fall, the tension will be undeniable. Sharon will fight to maintain her place in Nick's heart, clinging to the hope that the kiss in Nice was not meaningless, that their history still has power. But as Nick gravitates towards Sienna, Sharon may be forced to accept a truth she has long resisted. Some loves, no matter how deep, are meant to evolve rather than repeat. And while this realization may be heartbreaking for fans who have held on to Schick for decades, it may also be the beginning of a new era. One where Nick and Sharon are free to grow beyond each other, even as their bond remains unbreakable. Ultimately, what lies ahead is both uncertain and thrilling. Will Nick surrender to the allure of Sienna Beall and find in her the excitement and passion he has been unconsciously craving? Will Sharon finally let go of her endless hope and discover that her true future lies with someone unexpected? Or will the universe, in its twisted and poetic way, pull Schick back together once more after all, proving that no matter how far they stray, destiny cannot be denied? Whatever the outcome, one thing is certain. The arrival of Sienna Beall ensures that this fall in Genoa's city will not be quiet, and the ripples of her presence will be felt in every corner of the Newman world.